indication that we still have the chance to reverse the taken up by a small group of revolutionaries. And PIB Bhopal have joined hands to take a step forward to strengthen environmental journalism in India. To formally welcome the workshop, Dr. G.A. Kenthan is an IIT.
This is an event which we have begun with an endeavor. We hope we will take it to its logical conclusion. Jayashree mentioned about second innings. I was here as associate professor, was a different responsibility, teach and forget. Now it is different responsibility, lead and help people to do something. I hope I'll be able to do that to the maturity which I can claim for later. For this meet, last 2 months we've been planning for, and the major pretext which led me to conclude this into a meet of the environment journalists are, I believe, power of people is stronger than the people in power, but it is only qualified by the knowledge the people have. We have seen in the last 2-3 years how the people have been exercising their assertion for democracy, but at times we feel that they do not have complete information, and that information needs to be disseminated and provided to the people. The second pretext is we are living in digital times. 1,000 seconds were nothing if you go back 20 years. 1,000 seconds has become relevant now. We cannot think of asking someone to say wait for a day. They want it now. That's the digital time we are all in. That's the pretext in which we all need to work in terms of what kind of information we need to provide to people. The other aspect, which is the current issue for the today's deliberation, is all these environmental issues exhibit a trait of centripetality. What I mean by centripetality is things happen elsewhere, we feel the effect. All happenings elsewhere make us suffer. So that centripetal nature of environmental issues makes us to be more alert and more educated, more informed. The other aspects, if you look at some murder happening somewhere, that's the centrifugal kind of a news element. Happens at a point, spreads across, it goes out. Something happens elsewhere, happening in USA, that affects us in the kind of world we live in. Look at climate change, look at even black carbon thing. What happens in the lower part of the world, it affects the Himalayas. So that's the context we have to look at the environmental issues. The context for this meet, we have seen in the last, again, as 5-6 years, civil society in India is maturing and thus demands more and more truthful information. If it is fed with half-baked, just off-the-cuff information, there will be a lot of disastrous effects. Civil society and media, coupling is becoming stronger. We have seen in Delhi in the last 2 years, civil society and media together have led so many, street effects onto the government. So this is a very good opportune time to build that the environmental issues are dealt with properly. Stronger and plural media is emerging. You think about 20 years back, we used to wait for a letter. We used to wait for the newspaper to know what has happened, even within 20 kilometers or 100 kilometers of our radius. But now we come to know what has happened anywhere, any point of the world. The plurality of the media is very relevant now. If you look at the print media, 10 to 15%. In India itself, about 11 million English newspapers circulation is there. Internet access is 12%. is about 6% of the world. TV viewership is 65%. All of us, when we get back, we get stuck to the screens. We get so many things to do in a distorted manner, in format which they like much more than the civil society likes. And we are fed with good and bad inputs for our interpretation and assimilation. Environmental and related fields are gaining greater attention, but are infested with non-clarity and confusion. That's another aspect we have to deal with and look at what we can do in this field. We have heard about big dams and small dams. We have heard about Tribal Act, Land Acquisition Act, environmental clearances, various which we hear from the newspapers and news media. A lot of confusion and confounded information reaches us day in and day out. This is the action element which has come from these pretexts and contexts for this meet. Enriching environmental literature is one of the actions we have to do. The second action which is demanded from us is enhancing environmental interpretation. There is a need, immediate one. Then finally, strengthening environmental advocacy, for which the environmental journalists, as well as the institutions like IFM, gain their relevance much more than what they had earlier. In this context, once again I welcome all of you with a confidence that at the end of the day, we'll all come up with creation of a platform and a forum for exchanging information. I promise you, the journalist sector or the news or the media sector can depend on us for any kind of information they would seek for providing it to a stronger civil society.
It's a brainchild to make an auspicious beginning to this.
It is for me a pleasure, a privilege, and a humbling experience to be inaugurating today's workshop. And I shall explain to you why I say this. It is a pleasure because, as in the kind words of introduction was said, my association with environment and forests has been a long one. I served in the Ministry of Environment and Forests between 1991 and 1996. And there I was privileged to deal with the discussions leading up to the drafting of the Convention on Biodiversity Conservation, the Convention on Climate Change, the International Agreement on Forests, as well as in implementing the final responsibilities of India under the Montreal Protocol for the protection of the ozone layer in phasing out CFCs. I had the privilege also to participate in the first Earth Summit in Rio, and then in follow-up summits and the first Conference of Parties of the Biodiversity Convention. It was also during those days that I first visited the IFM. And so therefore, this is now here a pleasure, particularly a pleasure to come here when the director of the IFM is Dr. Kinhal, who is a batchmate of mine, since we both belong to the same batch. It is a privilege because this workshop for today has as its participants a gathering of intellectuals. Being a journalist itself demands a certain level of intellectualism, but more so being a journalist who decides to write and report on environmental issues. I will expand on this for a few minutes after this. It is a humbling experience, of course, because on the days here, I am the only one who does not hold a doctorate. I see that Dr. Kinhal has a doctorate, Dr. Bhaskar Rao too, and as for Dr. Sudhakar, He is the eternal student and the eternal teacher, and probably has more doctorates than all the rest of us put together. I understand he holds 200 degrees, so which is not temperature. 200 degrees are actually, which is amazing, amazing. I think something that would go into the Guinness Book of World Records. So that then is where we stand today. I will not, again, as I say, be speaking anything very much to you, because I have already been preceded by two eminent speakers. Normally, an inaugural session, there are some formal speeches, but with both Dr. Kinhal's address, which was brief but loaded with matter, and Dr. Bhaskar Rao's keynote address, they actually have converted what is normally simply a formality into a substantive session of today's workshop. And I am certain you have many questions which have been provoked by statements made by Dr. Bhaskar Rao. And I do not want to come between you and those questions. I will make brief remarks due to other commitments. I have to leave early, but I'm sure that some time will be found where you can then interact with Dr. Bhaskar Rao and ask him issue on what he means by certain statements that he would have made in his very intellectually stimulating keynote address. I will only say this, speak to you as a layman. The role of a journalist, not just an environmental journalist, but any journalist, I would imagine, any journalist has two roles. One role relates to reportage, just reporting news. And the other role relates to analyzing that news. Now, for reasons that I shall try to explain to you, it is extremely important that these two roles not be mixed up by a journalist, whether he is a reporter for a newspaper or whether a reporter for a visual media channel. See, as a reporter of news, one can only stick to the facts. And as individuals, as thinking individuals, all of us are entitled to our own views. We are not robots. Each of us have our own views, our own inclinations, our own commitment to certain ways of social thinking. And we are completely entitled to express them, and more so a journalist as a writer or as a presenter on a TV news channel would be completely at liberty to express those feelings of his through writings, of articles or news analysis or presenting programs. But these personal inclinations cannot find expression in terms of just the reportage, just reporting news. Reporting news has to stick to the facts and not go beyond them because of the power that the media holds. And sometimes, without even intending to mislead, if we mix the two roles, the public can be misled. And journalists, like all professionals, have a certain code of ethics. Nobody can claim that, you see, I am a free individual, I can write what I want, it's up to people to believe if they want to believe, not to believe what they want to believe. But that is not a correct way of looking at it, because you may be a doctor, you may be a private doctor, and you may say that I am a private doctor, a patient has willingly come to me, so I can behave as I wish. But no, doctors have a code of ethics. There are certain things that a doctor cannot do, even if a patient freely goes to him. Similarly, a lawyer has a certain code of ethics. People freely go to a lawyer and engage a lawyer, but a lawyer is bound to do certain things. He has to keep certain things confidential, he has to fight completely, whether he believes in the case or not, he has to fight for his client, put up the case in the best way, whatever. So in whichever profession we are, there are certain accepted code of ethics, particularly if we consider ourselves as professionals. And journalism is a profession. It's not a hobby. It is a profession. And in that profession, there is a sacred trust between the journalist and the public. And because the media has so much power, that trust has to be honored. And therefore, a journalist is bound by the ethics to, when a news report is given, only to report the facts, uncolored by his or her personal predilections. You see, when I was in school, and we used to see this oath that one takes when one gives evidence in court, to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. मैं सच बोलूँगा, पूरा सच बोलूँगा, सच के सिवाय कुछ नहीं बोलूँगा. And I used to think, when we used to see that, particularly in films and all, that this is simply some repetition of just one thing. And he could simply say, I promise to tell the truth. And this is some old formulation which is just repetitive. But after that, when I grew older, and one actually analyzed it, one realized that none of these three statements are repetitions of the other. Because any one of them can be followed completely, and yet the truth may not be told. So first, why? You are claiming to tell the truth. But often you can tell the truth, and along with the truth tell other falsehoods. So you have honored your claim that I have told the truth. But along with the truth there may be other falsehoods that you have told, and you can claim that I have not broken my oath. Or I will tell the whole truth, because sometimes one can tell the truth, but only part of the truth, and keep silent on other facts of the truth. But that gives a lopsided picture, and that is why just telling the truth is not adequate. One has to tell the whole truth, all the facts. And finally, nothing but the truth. Which comes back to that issue, that you may tell the truth, you may tell the whole truth, but along with the whole truth you may also add some falsehoods. So you are further saying that not only am I telling the truth and the whole truth, but I am not adding something which is false. So that is how each aspect of this oath that one takes in court has individual meaning, because if not put together, one may still result in creating the impression of an untruth or something which is false. You see, that, and the same applies to reportage for a journalist. You see, often, sometimes, articles, as you know, even the headlines may give a wrong impression. The headline can mean something else, can take on something very small and blow it up. So it's not false, but it changes the whole impression of the article. I mean, there is this joke that people tell about how the truth can be told and yet it cannot be the whole truth, about one famous religious guru who was going to Las Vegas in America. And when he was going there, his advisors told him that, see, there you are going to, people are going to start asking you all kinds of things, and Las Vegas is very famous for its nightclubs and gambling houses and things like that, and you are a religious guru and you are going there, and you know, there may be a, he said, don't worry, I'll handle all this, don't worry. So when he got off at the airport, the journalist asked him, you are a religious guru and you are coming to Las Vegas, are you going to the nightclubs? So he said he thought the best way of doing it was to show complete innocence, as though to say, I have no idea about nightclubs, I have only come to give my religious discourse. So he said, are there any nightclubs in Las Vegas? Meaning to say, I don't even know that they exist. The next day's papers had headlines. First question Guru asks when he lands, are there any nightclubs in Las Vegas? So that was the truth, but it was not the whole truth. They did not say how the question was posed, how he said it, and so of course that was just to illustrate to you why it is important on reportage. Now we come to the other aspect, which is the more difficult aspect, in which really an environmental journalist or any journalist reporting on specialized issues, whether on economic issues, environment issues, on whatever, requires a much more responsibility for self-education. This is when you actually write articles or write analytical reports, or if you are in a media channel where you may be a news anchor for a program, or prepare a specialized program on an environmental issue. You see, unfortunately, environment is one of those things where everybody from the most eminent position of judicial levels to the common man in the road, everybody imagines that he is a born expert on environment, which is actually not the case. We all experience things about the environment, but that doesn't make us an expert on the environment. We all fall sick. That doesn't make us all doctors. Just because we have fallen ill, or we have undergone an operation or undergone treatment, it doesn't make us an expert in medicine. So just because we experience the environment, that does not make us a specialist in environment. And an environmental journalist has the great responsibility of self for the benefit of someone else completely. Why should he? Why should anyone? And very often this always works in favor of the rich and the powerful, who already have control over certain resources, and the people who are asked to make so-called sacrifices will always be the weak, who will then become the victims of having to give up things in order to protect what we call the environment. Therefore, what is important is to understand very basically the concept that, as Dr. Bhaskar Rao has already spoken in his earlier speech, the concept pioneered by India from the last 30 years and more, that environment and development are not necessarily contradictory. And there is no divide in it. If people understand that in a longer perspective, it is both economically and socially. I am not only speaking about environmentally or ecologically or socially, but also economically desirable and beneficial to opt for protecting the environment. Only then people will opt for environmental protection. And we have to indicate that development is part and parcel of this. Now, this is not an easy task, because if it is so easy, if it is so clear, if it is so obvious, everybody would know it and there would be no problem. It is a truth, but it is not an obvious truth, because people tend to look at things in the very short term. Now, it is the job as the conscience keepers, or as Dr. Bhaskar Rao said, the gatekeepers or the agenda setters. It is the job of people writing on the environment, environmental journalists, to actually look how this can be achieved, to study things in depth, and to be able to therefore present that the protection of the environment is actually going to benefit people, all people, economically, maybe if not in the immediate term, at least in the medium term. Because as they say, in the long term we'll all be dead, so we shouldn't really talk too much about the long term, but at least in the medium term. Now, this therefore is the challenge before all of you, and it's nothing that can get resolved in 1 day or 2 days. But I do hope that in today's workshop, the topics that you all will be discussing on during the various groups that you all will be forming later on in the afternoon, as well as interacting with the resource persons and those who have given lectures to you all today, I am confident that some progress will be made by all of you and all of us in this direction, and through therefore the efforts of the environmental journalists, all of us and society at large will